Of the living and dead food on NTV channel, in YouTube and on the website, and I would like to speak about those practical recommendations or advices which I managed to extract, so to say, for me and for my family from the whole bunch of information which is good and what is bad. Life, the food, living and dead was motivated by Russian fairy tales, and I have to say that from the 1st of January it will be it will have a new name. We decided to avoid the word dead, which was distracting people and upsetting people. And we need to include some information that we do not want to threaten people with some horrors from some shows which steal some videos with me on the screen. It looks funny. I have to stress and I have to underline that we see a light in the end of the tunnel, always, constantly. We want to feel everybody, to make everybody feel better, live healthy, and I think modern science knows something good about that. I would like to show my presentation, and I will speak about some important things, important for me. People, as it turns out, are thinking not much about how food influences their health. In the generation of my parents, my grandparents, it did not look, was not quite masculine to take care of yourself, to complain something, to look for some, maybe problems, health problems. It was not respectful behavior. So early death due to cardiovascular reasons, the most widespread reason of things which kill in us, men are more vulnerable to that than women. These are heart problems. And the main problem, today's problem, is atherosclerosis. It's a disease which previously was spoken about, that it was said that you eat too much cholesterol and your veins are getting stuck. Here you can see the scheme on the screen of the obstacle for the blood flow inside the vein. Contemporary research shows that atherosclerosis reason is different. This blockage is a reaction of veins for micro-inflammations and micro-damages, which can be done due to a number of factors. First thing is smoking, which seriously harms veins, low mobility, alcohol, and unhealthy food. So what do we have in the end? In the long run, this is what the surgeons can see while having surgery of a heart and in other bodies. But in the heart, it has deadly consequences, lethal consequences. When somewhere this micro damage happened, the body is trying to repair it, restore it, and puts some layers of cholesterol to repair it. So the blood starts to curve, to go into a whirlpool, thrombus or clots of blood appear there, and due to the reasons of functionality and to the regulation of the tone of vein, the vein stops, blocks the float, the blood flow, and it can lead to the heart attack, which is really deadly and did not come overnight, and it happens so due to the decades of his unhealthy lifestyle. because unfortunately we underestimated that for many years, for decades, maybe centuries. But food influences us a lot. So the number one risk factor are the sweets and the bakery and the various types of bread, so what is baked. Here are three structures which have to do with the sweets and the sucrose on the bottom, regular sugar, which is mutated into glucose and fructose in the blood flow and in the body, and it introduces into the some processes. We have some sound problems, because maybe you can hand me the mic or we can change the channel. It's really important that sugar is not worse than farinaceous foods. They mainly made of starch, and this starch is processed this way that it turns into sugar right away. The carbohydrates, to the excessive presence of carbohydrates, is happening for the first time in history. Our ancestors never did that. It's an epidemic. I met one of sugar haters in the US, Dr. Robert Lustig. He told me that when he was working in the clinics for children, he saw patients with obese liver. It looked like a liver of alcoholics, but these children were not consuming alcohol. And the reason was popularity of sugar-free sweet drinks, soft drinks. If you ever visited Burger King, you know the system when you buy a glass and you can refill it without paying anything extra. In the US, it's called fountain drink. It's really popular there, not only in Burger King, but in other fast food networks. And you have to see that the volumes and the speed, both grown-ups and children consume that. Sugar, which was in a drink than in a food, is absorbed without you noticing that. You do not even analyze it. Somebody has taken a latte or a coffee or some fashionable rough coffee with the syrup, and he does not feel how in this glass of coffee drinks 5 or 6 teaspoons of sugar. It just happens so fast and without noticing it. And the norm is as severe as you can see in fresh recommendations of American Cardio Association. Maximum 9 teaspoons for a man, 6 for a woman on average, including all products apart from whole grain. Or fruits and vegetables. We have sugar everywhere, in sauces, in ketchups, in dressings, and the products which we do not even think that it is there in the bread, in salamis, in sausages, in mustard. That's an endless list. In dry cereal, in sweet yogurts. When, for example, you can see the advertisement on the TV of these small yogurts which strengthen our immunity, especially among children. I feel my heart aching at this moment because it's no better than Coca-Cola, sometimes worse due to the volume of sugar, because in our drinking sweet yogurts, as in the glazed cheese, chocolate glazed cheese, they have 4 teaspoons of sugar per glass, and we cannot call these products healthy. We're used to it, but it's wrong. I made a documentary which is called Salt and Sugar, Death of Your, According to Your Taste. and research in various scientific works trying to combine it all, visiting world institutes and universities. The picture is really diverse. We eat too much sugar, and evolution never intended that. Our ancestors never had access to such a big volume of sugar. It happened only after 19th century when industrial sugar production, beetroot production appeared, when we achieved access to that 24/7 around the year. It hits all the body systems: cardiovascular, immunity, early diabetes. And we think better if we eat less sweet. It influences even the quality of your skin. And I wrote in the previous point that dessert after the food is normal. For me, it's okay. I do not exclude sugar 100% because it's not a good idea for the long perspective. Most people cannot reject sugar for a long period of time. If you manage to hypnotize yourself as a zombie yourself, you can probably do that, but you should not exceed the dosage which international organizations recommend. And the key thing is to not substitute food with something sweet. When you want a snack is a bad thing, by the way. You have to eat enough at the breakfast to be fine till lunch, and lunch to be fine till supper. But before, if you want a snack, don't take bread, sweet bread as well. There is such an idea as retrograde hunger, when you have a boost of sugar in your blood and you feel that you're not hungry anymore. Then insulin is being extracted and it's going to your blood, and you feel even hungrier, you feel even stronger hunger than it was previously. And after consumption of this harmful sugar, dessert after the main meal works differently. The body got used to digest everything. It's going really nice. I visit France very often, and I see the culture of their desserts. Why French endlessly eat their eclairs or the macaroni, various cookies, biscuits. Why they are the fittest nation in Europe? Because they eat dessert after normal meal. Well, moreover, they are quite reasonable in consuming that. And a number of other factors. Still, sugar can be consumed, sweets can be consumed, but reasonably. Harmful factor number 2 is excessive meat in our ratio, especially the red meat. Red meat, according to the diet classification, which is beef, lamb, chicken drumsticks, chicken legs, they have GEM, which it's a substance which transports oxygen inside your blood. And when there's too much of this substance, it has negative consequences over our body. It increases the risk of rapid development of cancer, provokes aging of skin, provokes atherosclerosis, and according to the contemporary scientific recommendations, 3 times a week maximum, red meat should be consumed. And you have to switch to white types of meat, which is chicken, turkey, rabbit somehow. You should know how to cook it tasty, because the chicken breast is a boring and dry thing, but there are many, many recipes to make it juicy, to surround it with various vegetables and sometimes fruits and berries and sauces and dressings, something not fat, and you'll be fine with that. You'll get away with that. Maximum 0.8 grams of animal protein per kilo of body mass. That's the recommendation. It's important not to exceed that. Here you can see the diagram of quite a complicated biochemical process. It's called mTOR pathway. Given it rough and simple terms, the synthesis and appearance of new molecules and the decomposition of these molecules are always in balance. If we eat too much protein from these red meats, the body is trying to live faster, so to say. And evolution, the life of our ancestors, did not prepare our body for such a rapid life, fast life, and the body starts to age faster, and various ways, various types are excessive of molecules are too much of them, and they start to harm people. And there is a journalist bright picture, like a provocative picture, that if you it's a schnitzel equals to a cigarette, and if we are abusive with red meat, we are getting closer to death. Another enemy of our health is salt. If you eat too much salt, consume too much salt, it increases hypertonic risks, having too high blood pressure. The first therapy for that is decrease of number of volume of salt. I see people adding salt without even tasting that, because they're used to that food. They're used to this taste, and otherwise it doesn't seem tasty, doesn't feel tasty. Every day, an average Russian is 12 to 15 grams of salt. The WHO recommends 5 grams a day maximum. That's why you should add more spices. And this is the way to add flavor. And when you start adding less salt, you start to feel better taste. You feel a rise and an improvement. You feel taste of the food, the proper taste of the food, better. Because your taste receptors get used to some irritators, some strong provocatives. The same thing goes with ketchup. Why eating everything with ketchup is bad for you? Because without it, it does not taste delicious. Because there is a composition of sour, sweet, and salty, gives us the blasting sensations, blasting tastes, booming taste, and the useful and good green salads seem pale and do not bring joy. Once you start excluding ketchup, you can stop being dependent on salt. So, and the main problem of the whole developed world is overeating or surfeit. We lose less calories than we receive. The diagram demonstrates what volume of physical activity takes the same volume of calories than a product. A can of Coke is 26 minutes of intense walking and 13 minutes of intense running. A Snickers chocolate bar is 42 minutes of walking and 22 minutes of running. Sandwich, chicken and bacon, it's 122 hours of walking. It's a fat one, greasy one, with a big bread bun. 42 minutes of run. Burning excessive products by physical activity is extremely hard. You have to eat less. Everybody who successfully lost weight know that and speak about that. You have to begin with reducing any flour baked food, reduce the sweet thing, and not to feel farinaceous foods, and not to eat sufficiently during the breakfast, not to feel hunger up to the lunch. My standard breakfast is composed, I have like a few sets of a standard breakfast, is either something of 3 eggs, this volume is sufficient for me, like an omelette or a scramble, or this is like 200 grams of Greek yogurt plus cottage cheese, then porridge partly on water, partly on milk, with some cheese, non-fat cheese, like mozzarella, for example, or young cheese. And berries, definitely, berries there, in order to make it to make it nutritious and delicious. By the way, the strawberry is nice, thanks to the organizers. Even this season, strawberry can be nice. Of course, you have to know your limits, not to get to the extreme, because extremism is no good. And once you start following some extremely limiting diets, you most probably will not withstand it, and you will not be able to stand it for quite long.
My food philosophy allows everything, but I just accept it as quite tasty what is unhealthy. But if you do want it, I just go and eat some tart and sweet tart, or a few pieces of sausage, no problem. If I'm invited for a party and I have some greasy or fatty salad, I easily eat it. But in my daily life, I try not to get such food, not to take such food. I try to abide by my 5 principles: less calories, less meat, less sugar and salt, and more vegetables, and of course diversity. Now on your screen in front of you, you see so-called a healthy plate, last year's version from British Ministry of Health. You see different segments of different size, and the healthy ration should be composed of these segments. The green is equal to yellow. In green we see fruit and vegetables. They are good, first and foremost, by the fact that if they are eaten in the beginning of the lunch, they suppress your appetite. And if you start with these products, you will fill up your stomach, and then you eat less in general afterwards. But here is a trap. If you eat one cream soup of pumpkin soup, my favorite one, afterwards you will get hungry very soon, and you will go and take some buns or fruits or some sweets or chocolates. Of course, you need some protein, which will give you more saturation for a few hours. This pink segment is everything which contains protein. You see nuts, you see beans, fish, white meat, chicken meat, eggs, some meat in smaller quantity, tuna fish, and other things. Why is this proportion important? Because we eat meat, so we need to try to find other sources of protein. You need to use more bean, more peas. There are a lot of interesting recipes of peas. Nuts are not only for protein, but they also are healthy for our vessels. Sometimes I get rid of dessert and just eat nuts instead of dessert. Or if I, in some extreme situation, if I cannot have lunch, I just take and eat some nuts. I always have a plastic can with me, plastic container, which saved me many times. Polyphenol substances are contained in nuts, especially in shells. If we eat the mandrel, you shouldn't shell it off. You just take it with this cover, because the polyphenols are there and they protect your vessels. And we are all around with vessels, and all our body we have vessels. And if they are elastic, it is very important for the work of our heart, of our vessels, and other things. It influences our health in all areas, and your nuts in your daily diet are extremely recommended by dietologists. It's a must for you now. If you are able to do this and you have this opportunity, you can do it. These should be too sweet or too salty nuts, without some strong salt cover. They can be roasted, no problem. Roasting does not destroy these polyphenols. And maybe only peanuts is not very healthy. It's not a nut in general. It's a pea, and it's a good source of protein. But the peanuts don't have a lot of polyphenols. Mandrel, cashew, it's too salty sometimes. But well, hazelnut is good. Well, this next segment, dairy products. 2 days ago, there was a scandal in Britain that this segment was bigger, and dietologists said that there was too many very sweet products in this segment. It's a yogurt or cottage cheese. It contains some sweetener, and this is bad. Sweetener is bad. It brings over it from healthy to unhealthy category. The most important and better to use soy milk products, soy dairy products, where there's a lot of calcium, D vitamin, and these products are better than just milk, because 1.5% of adult population has problems with milk digestion, and there are problems with stomach, and it is really dangerous. But soy products, soy dairy products, they don't have these problems. They have good fermentation. Kefir opens new substances all the time, bacteria, provided by bacteria, kefiran, a special substance there which can have also anti-cancer effect. But you should remember these are very highly calorie products, and you should take it into account if you set up your diet. You can overeat it if you drink too much kefir. In smaller letters it is written officially what is recommended by the health industry. Select non-fatty and less sweet variations. This is the question of discussion. Obviously, not fatty kefir, yogurt, curd are not beneficial. They are not useful. It's not true. If you remove fat, you remove non-necessary calories. This is the first plus. First of all, this fat is not so healthy. It's hard to be compared with olive oil, and it deteriorates our vessels too. Secondly, this message that if you remove fat, you remove vitamin D, it's not true. It's enough to have D vitamin in other products or take it additionally, as I do. It is the only thing that I take additionally, and the whole calcium will be digested very well. So if you are in the age of 60 plus, this is the global scientific consensus: select less fatty products. Small violet segment, oils, and spreads, even spreads, lower fat spreads, not natural oil. Some time ago, the replacers were made on margarine, but now, fortunately, the situation changed. They are provided by different technologies, and now these replacements are considered as a good food variants. You shouldn't be afraid of it. You should. Well, we have too much sunflower oil. This is a problem of Russia. It is also useful, but the balance of omega-6 is in favor of omega-6, and here we should have the balance between 3 and 6, omega-3 and omega-6, and there's not much 3 omega, so we need to use different oils. Apart from sunflower, you should also use raps, olive oil, and for roasting, you should use coconut oil, surprisingly enough. Sometimes you can buy it, not very expensive, and it's also healthy. You should use it for roasting. It doesn't give any additional flavor, but it heats up very well without cancerogenic products, unlike other oils. For instance, I used coconut oil today morning for preparing breakfast. It gives some slight sweetish flavor, and I really recommend it. In the big yellow segment here are slow carbohydrates, starchy carbohydrates, everything which should gives us long-term saturation. In the comments to this segment is written, please choose not just bread, but whole grain bread, which also is relevant for pasta and porridges. The less they are processed, the better. Rice, better not white, maybe mix it with a brown one, with wild rice, steamed one. Because if you take just pure products like white bread or white rice, I already told it means a lot of starch, which turns very fast to sugar in your body and is accumulated in unexpected places of your body and unwanted places of your body. A very small part is taken by chocolates, cookies, chips, and so on. It is possible to take, but remember that the main healthy plate should be like this. Something for health, green and yellow, what would fill our stomach with healthy food and which create some good food for our good and benign microbes in our gastrointestinal system. These microbes do like it there, and they give a good benefit for our body. About water. Yes, thank you for your question. The top right corner is about water. It is written that the optimum amount for a healthy person is 6 to 8 glasses a day, including all liquid, including everything, soups, tea, fruit, coffee. Of course, you should take it not sweet and not fatty, and limit fruit juice and smoothies to a total of 150 milliliters a day. Someone would think that juice is a good replacement to fruit, but it's not true. A juice is a fruit from which everything was taken, and the fibers were taken out of it. Our good microbes like in our stomach, but they didn't. The juice is just a sugar, solution of sugar taken from the fruit. It's not better than sugar with water, plus a couple of vitamins, but it's still unhealthy. It doesn't have anything directly to do to this wholesome food, but another factor is to sleep well. As the reasons such give us, the people who work in shifts, day or night, who have chronic insomnia, they have worst health, because they cannot clean their brain. There's a brain system which takes out all toxins and hazardous things out of your brain during the night. It doesn't activate your immunity, because immunity is a very important factor for our health. For example, guinea pigs were taken out of sleep because they died of sepsis, because their immune system couldn't combat against the microbes who lived on their skin and their stomach. Sleep is extremely important also for a good body, because during the sleep we suppress the hunger hormone, hungry hormone, which is called ghrelin. If we didn't sleep well on the next day, this ghrelin will catch up with us and it will hit us. It was not suppressed during the night, and we will eat most probably more other than we ate if we slept better. This is a good trick. which works for people very well who want to start losing weight. First of all, you should normalize and organize your sleep. You should go to bed not later than 11 p.m. If possible. These are classical recommendations. Maximum at 11 p.m. Go to bed and have 6 to 8 hours of average doses of good sleep, which will be enough for you. If your sleep is damaged, you should go to specialists, you should consult doctors. First, maybe you should do simple things. You should reduce the temperature in your sleeping room. The ideal temperature, according to the American regulation, were just terrible 16 degrees of centigrade. But we sleep, what remember, 24, 25 degrees in your rooms. Well, this is far from an optimum temperature for our organism. Air the room, make a dark room. Research shows that even if the eyes are closed, the body still receives the light and the sleep is not well. The melatonin is lost if a lot of light comes out from the windows. You should have good curtains on your windows. Then just walking before sleep. There are some knowledges, of course, doctors, if it doesn't help, and the doctors will help you, they can do a lot for your good sleep. Activity, physical activity, is what many people lack. 10,000 steps a day, of course, it's a marketing move invented by a Japanese marketer who sold this step measuring device. They thought it's a good advertising move, and it was fixed in the massive culture. Everyone repeats that you need to have 10 steps to walk during the day. But the science doesn't confirm it. It's a very individual. But the truth is that, of course, you need to walk more, and and to have some regular physical activity every day. For example, I go for swimming to a swimming pool. Fortunately, in Moscow, there are a lot of opportunities. There are a lot of small swimming pools in the gyms. And I have a daily card for 14,000 rubles, quite decent money, 25 meters pool, swimming pool. And before going to work, if I have a chance and if there's an opportunity, I go for intensive swimming, and then I'm charged for the whole day. I don't have the deficit of physical activity. And on top of that, you should do your best to walk where possible. For example, if it's possible to go upstairs, use the stairs and not use the elevator. If you are on the escalator in the metro, please walk there. In the VDNH metro station, every morning I use this metro station. I really walk there, don't stand. In the beginning, when I started that, when I moved 15 years ago to Moscow, I was out of breath. And now I'm enough, I'm very well trained. And you should use these opportunities for free of charge exercise. I got rid of the personal car in the weekdays. I bought it in 2011. My car is not many younger. I don't want to replace it because the mileage is 14,000 kilometers only. It's as much as possible I use public transport during the week, and I believe it is very good for health. Regular physical activity in different forms can help you. Here you see the list of benefits, proven benefits: to lose the weight, reduce the risk of heart disease, erase the stiffness from arthritis, strengthen your bones and improve your posture, improve your sleep, build strength and cardio stamina, enhance your mental functions, and even counteract depression, anger, anxiety, and bad mood. Sport is the safest drug, if you may, antidepressant, which may be available. As soon as you find your the sport you like, something from the games or swimming, in my case. Many people like jogging, And fortunately, there are more opportunities in Moscow now for that. A lot of parks, a lot of running and jogging streets. As soon as you find the activity you like, you enjoy it, and you cannot do without it. Some people even get addicted on sports, and this is a very safe and very good and positive thing. These are main bullet points of my presentation, and now I'm going to take your questions after some time, but initially I wanted to show you very easy recipe, just as an example what I like now after I learned a lot of things about food.
Что мое самое любимое?
What is my favorite at the moment? It's a salad. I say that salad is a king of healthy food because it can substitute 3-course meal. For example, if somewhere in the United States, when I have a business trip for quite long business trip, and fast food is everywhere, and I don't have place to have normal lunch, me and my cameraman understand that we should enter this very fast food, this diner, and take a big salad, because in America and in Europe, there's a very good tradition of green salads, but which are quite saturated, so to say. You shouldn't have 3-course meal. You can have dinner with a big salad. For example, I take spinach. How is it broadcasted? Is it good? I take spinach. I can chop it. I can tear it with my hands. Tearing with my hands is better because everything is washed here. I can tear it apart, tear it all, the leaves, not to make too small, to add something with some bright taste, like for example I have rucola, which according to the recent research turned out to be more good for you and healthy than broccoli by sulforaphane, who has anti-cancer effect. A little bit of rucola to make it spicy. I think we can add more. Also tear it. Cutting it is not really good because it starts to give juice, which is not really good. Spinach, I love it, really. Both thermally processed is good like that, and raw one is also fine. It's not yellow, it's not orange, but it has big volume of carotenoids and different Z-oxyantins, which influence everything in our health, including the sight and good skin condition. Surprisingly, spinach is actually laughed at very often that it was too much popularized in the US, but it is really good, and we can add basil there, which is really has a very nice aroma. I can tear it a little bit. We can avoid the main danger. In case of salads, it is lack of taste. It's not delicious. And the salad which I am making will be delicious because it has something in it. First of all, the types of leaves, the salad leaves, are tasty. And tomatoes, thanks to the organizers, they bought wonderful tomatoes. 3 days ago, I returned from Baku, and I returned and I brought fresh nuts, tomatoes to the family, some kind of souvenirs like that. Now, cherry tomatoes, in the winter time, you can find really good ones. I cut them in quarters. They are sweet, they're full of aroma, even if there are no such good ones, regular ones will do, because the rest of ingredients are also fine. Then surprises begin. To some people it might seem strange, but I like to put berries into the salads, berries and fruits. It's really popular and widespread in American and European culture, and let's try to copy that, and I like the taste of it, the combination of this tasteless green with sweet and sour fruity taste. Give it a try. Dried cranberries works perfectly. Fresh blueberries. And in the summertime, strawberries and raspberries. And I would like to say once more, it dissolves this tastelessness. This insipidity. We can cut it in smaller pieces for it to get to be better spread in the salad. And I can't stand but buy berries when I enter a supermarket, and I spend the money which I minimize, which I manage to save, not buying polyvitamins, because I don't buy these additives. On the 1st of February I will have a special program about vitamins and minerals, who have to take these pills, when and how. I don't take neither one, only vitamin D, which was done for this program. The analysis of blood and hair, various factors have to be considered. I don't have deficiency of minerals and vitamins from various food. And all vitamins and minerals have to be taken there. The next component is cheese. This is the very important part to achieve fullness or satiety. So either you have a fried chicken or cheese in various types of cheese. You can use a number of combinations. Very good one. It's a little bit salty, but you can actually avoid extra salt. Their feta is very good for that. And there's a Greek halloumi from Cyprus. They started to produce it in Russia, for example. I buy in Pyaterechka store. There is Cernulski halloumis. You can fry it. It's like Adygea cheese, but it's more like hard cheese, and it's really good for salads. The main thing, it gives you the satiety, and it adds taste to it. If we are speaking about protein, nuts can add to the satiety. I think that nuts are quite a magical component for the food, and I try to take them every day. The best nuts are walnuts, and they have the concentrations of minerals and elements which protect our veins, and you have to not to use them all the time. You have to change nuts somehow from time to time, but they have this light bitterness. You can crush them, you can cut them. It actually depends on your taste. I like to cut them for them to create this part of dressing, so to say, for the salad, or seasoning for the salad, to have this nut bitter taste, or bitter note. It's ready. We add it to the salad. We can add some more, but it's just for the sake of demonstration. So the pumpkin seeds are also a very good component for the salad. Now, actually, I have a mixture of seeds. You can easily buy it. It's very available. There are sunflower seeds, linen, poppy, and other ones. And pumpkin seeds are always there, especially during the winter period. They give zinc, which is really good for your immunity, for us not to feel cold, and for the male health, men's health, if you may, is really good because it supports, because it's really good for you. I was in Austria. There is a culture of frying it with the taste of cappuccino with rum and make them spicy. It's really nice if you do not add too much sugar. And the final touch, super flavor, super fashionable thing is microgreens, the shoots, which actually give vitamins. They are not very nutritious, but when the seeds pass this phase of the beginning of growth, there is an activation of everything, whatever you can imagine. That's why now the dietologists and the chefs are really on the same ground, in the same boat, that the shoots of sunflower and many types of green, of peas, etc., and so on and so forth. It's really good, nice vitamin additive. That's actually the salad, which is good for you. You can buy a mixture, it's dressing, something with aroma. You can take balsamic acid. I prefer to add a little bit of olive oil. Olive oil does not contain omega-3 fat acids, but it is the most universal than the rest of the oils. It's good for your heart. You can fry using that if it's a purified one. And this little bitter taste, I do love it. The only thing which remains is to mix it, and we can enjoy it. And I will do it in the speaker room after we end up with this event. And I'm ready to answer your questions. Feel free to ask them. So, all right, just for the picture, I will put it on the plate, and cameraman will be happy when on the white background, and on top I will put some more nuts. Can I ask? We ask questions already. The question is, all this wonderful thing which you are demonstrating, which you are serving so nicely in the plate, is well prepared, well found by quality, by quantity. Of course, it gets in the mouth, the body, and the final goal, final point of it is every cell of our body. Obviously, not everything, not all the nutrition elements will get into the cell. Something will not reach it, some will stuck to there. Only part of that will get to the cell. What are the instruments or measures you can take to use in your everyday life to increase the biological availability of nutritious elements? I am giving me a hint to some false science. Just tell me where you're going to. I'm just asking a specific question. What are the tools which you can use for everyday life to increase the biological availability of nutrients? Well, probably you have your own recipe, right? Of course. So share it then. The recipe is simple. You eliminate toxic elements before, on the final phase, next to the cell, next to cell area. The final The final goal of all these nutrients is the cell. We heard that. What do you suggest specifically to do that? I suggest to increase the cleaning speed of next to cell space from toxic elements, which can become obstacle to entering by oxygen with the cell. All right. How are you doing that? There are many ways, many options. I just want to hear from you the answer from you. Do you know the methods to achieve this goal, to increase biological availability? Like, for example, just to give an example, a few years ago, the Japanese, in order to reduce the volume of pharmaceuticals consumed by the population, put a goal in front of themselves to increase twice as much the bioavailability of the pills themselves, and reduce twice as much, by 50%, their reduction of pills. Probably you can teach me something which I do not know. If I may, can you write on Facebook into that? I will be glad to find out something new. Thank you. You have the floor. Your mic is not working. Sergey, thank you so much for what you do, and first of all, for popularizing it. The question is like that. You said that, the question is as follows. You said that grown-ups, sufficient volume of meat is 2 or 3 times a week. Children need it more often. It depends a lot on the activity of a child. If you take a perfect child, theoretically a perfect child, he is really active. My children do not eat too much meat, because we do not eat too much meat ourselves, and they restore this need in protein due to cheese, to nuts, to curd. And if the ratio is made like that, it's sufficient both for the parents. They're growing nice, looks like that. My son will be taller than I am, I think, though he is 10 years old. I'm kidding, obviously. What does science tell us about that? The science tells that every age needs its own ratio, and there is no silver bullet or magic stick for that. Sometimes meat should be in the ratio. More or less, that's the general piece of advice I can share with you. Good afternoon, my name is Yana, and I'm a fitness dietologist from Rusin for a while. And I saw your show about functional nutrition, and I think it's quite a good substitute to the classical ratios in some available volumes. Of course, if not, you switch totally into it. Actually, I do not believe into functional nutrition, functional eating, which are enriched with some vitamins or some nutrients. The situation is a double-bladed situation, actually. As I prove with my own experience, on the 1st of February, I can show you this show. You can verify. You can vary your food and have no deficiency in vitamins. On the other hand, the most part of our compatriots of Russians fail to do so. Maybe somebody doesn't know how to do it, somebody doesn't want to do it, somebody lacks money or will. But according to the Institute of Nutrition, it's about 42% of people. And extra additives and extra vitamins will not be harmful for them. From the point of view of state policy to increase the health level of wide number of people, functional food is good, and in some countries producers have to enrich bread with vitamin A or something like that, as salt has to have some elements in that. I do not eat functional products on my own, and 3 life hacks like salt with iodine, etc., and so on and so forth. And 3 life hacks in the store, where you should pay attention, what should you pay attention to, what is dangerous? What is dangerous? Well, if you buy best before products after their best before, it's dangerous. It's dangerous when there is too much sugar in the product. There is a problem that producers do not have to write the volume of sugar on the package. They write like protein, something, and they add the volume of that. That's why on the graph of of carbohydrates, you can see 11. It's like 11 grams of sugar. That's like 3 teaspoons of sugar for a glass in a drink. Another thing, well, generally I'm not trying to send people towards eco-bio products, threaten people with some cheap products. I buy in Peterishka, Dixie, Bila, Victoria, in OK, in the most available shops. And I'm not living in the city center. I don't have Azbuka Vkusa or Globus Gourmet, something of the kind, because very often products are the same, but the price tag is higher. The checks which we make during making our programs, making our shows, the products from available food networks, they do not follow the best before date quite often, but they're quite safe, the vast majority of them, and they're good in quality. And it's really a big advantage that we're living in the 21st century, where we can have fresh apples, fresh, green onion, celery, everything green, 24/7, all year round, which our ancestors did not have access to, but not to the medicine, non-availability of fresh food. Now we're living longer than the people in the beginning of the 20th century.
Переваливало.
Well, the life expectancy was a little bit more than 30 years of age. Sergey, hello. I wanted to ask a question about a very fashionable keto diet. No sugar, no carbohydrate. I wanted to listen to your opinion. There are a lot of fans of this diet. A lot of fans of this diet. When people eat a lot of fat and they rebuild their metabolism in their body, that the body starts to consume internal fats, and they quite efficiently lose their weight in this way. For the majority of healthy people, it might be safe, but only might be, but might be not, because there are a lot of risks. When the person starts to have a bad smell of the body, then of acetone, sometimes, well, we can understand that this could be negative. I don't say that it's dangerous for everybody, but practitioners put this diet on the first place of the dangerous ones, because when you radically change the metabolism of your body, it could not be really dangerous. Andrei Martinov, geologist, geoscientist, PhD. A question to you. It is well known that every person has two stomachs, one for digestion of proteins using acid and acid ferments and substances, and the second stomach to digest carbohydrates. This is duodenum, using the gall, using the bile, yes, and other ferments. So the question is it worth it to help our body to not to include in one meal both carbohydrates and proteins, and split protein food and carbohydrate food? And what are arguments? What is your position to this part of the science which deals with nutrition? We ask this question many times to physiologists from different institutions, because the theory of split food, split nutrition is still popular despite many disavowals in the scientific. It has no justification in the science. It is based on the assumptions expressed very many years ago and negated many times since that. The ferments and the substances in our gastrointestinal tract act in a way that they do not disturb each other, and our organism, our body can do perfectly well with meat which is eaten together with vegetables. There's no problem for the body at all, and vegetables together with meat is very good. Instead, there's no bad processes, no soaring, nothing in your stomach. Carbohydrates start to be digested right in our mouth under amylase, a substance in our spit. We can even feel some sweetish taste because the starch starts to be defermentated in the mouth. There's no problem. It happens continuously and consecutively and efficiently. Sometimes they ask whether the drunk liquid dissolve the the bile in the stomach. It dissolves, but there are so powerful cells in our stomach. So to reduce the efficiency of digestion period, you should drink around 3 liters of water to dissolve it so strong that we had bad digestion. But it is absolutely unrealistic. Let me thank you for the recommendations which you've given us. Very specific, very useful, especially to those who start going into healthy nutrition, healthy food. Unfortunately, I didn't hear anything about a big group of products which has a different origin other than from those we discussed today. There's a group of so-called planting and food, which gives us the apiculture. I'm involved in apiculture since many years, and I know that the people who work in this area, they consume a lot of products of apiculture. They consume around 20 kilograms of honey. On average in our country, the honey consumption per capita is only 400 grams. And when I hear recommendations that you should not take a lot of honey, for me it is surprisingly, because in the apiculturers families, 90% of them live 90 years and longer. So the products of apiculture, I believe, are very important and good factor for longevity. Thanks for your question. I am really sad to say that your words are not confirmed by science, and many apiculturers I know, they eat very few, very moderate amounts of honey, because honey has around 80% of pure sugar. Fructose, most probably, for different mixes. Well, but fructose is even worse for our organism than glucose, than conventional sugarose, which hits even harder our brain, our heart, and it was confirmed and proven by the recent research. So to recommend something which contains 80% of pure sugar, which is really dangerous in big quantities, is just a crime, and this is a negative recommendation. Honey should be restricted within the limits of sugar recommended by the World Health Organization. Of course, other 20% in honey is wonderful. There are vitamins, there are different biologically active substances, mineral substances, but if you eat more than like a few teaspoons a day, you make a damage to your health for sure. If you believe in the figures sourced by the real science. I apologize, Sergey, but if we speak about carbohydrate part of honey, the ratio is different from what you are telling us. Honey contains 50-50 fructose and glucose. Yes, you're right. And both is dangerous and unhealthy. 1 or 2% of sugarose, 3 to 4% of lactose, also dangerous. No, these are simple sugars, and the body spends less energy for their journey. That's why they're dangerous. But for the digestion of sucrose, which has to be deteriorated first, defragmented first, the organism gets older because it uses a lot of energy. And around the recommendations how much honey should be consumed, there are recommendations 0.5 grams to 1 gram per 1 kilogram of body weight. This is significantly scientifically substantiated. The question is no, the modern science does not support that. One more question. Elena Zolotukina, I've lived 15 years abroad, I recently moved to Moscow. You told very interesting, great progress, and I hear a lot of things about rucola. You also, as a supporter of rucola, I lived in Egypt. Rucola is the cheapest grass, 4 rubles, a bunch. Well, it's absolutely not popular there. It's not popular product. I don't know. I don't know how much it costs in Russia. Every average supermarket, restaurant, the salad costs from 300 rubles. I don't go normally to restaurants. I cook myself. Okay, why is it so popular? Why where rucola grows as just grass or uncrowd? Your product is very much advertised in your product. In our product, we do not advertise and do not promote rucola, by the way. We rarely mention it, although it is really popular nowadays. It's one of the big number of greenery, green vegetables, which is different because of its tastes. That's why it has become popular in Kazakhstan. You don't have a culture of green salad as developed as it is in Europe and the US. That's why it has become popular, not because it was advertised significantly. Initially it was loved by chefs. Chefs liked its spicy taste, and I know that people start to grow it and plant it on dachas, and the prices are going down. Why? Because I live why there is no salad of different greens. I answer you, they don't have such a good taste for an average person. Too grassy, too sour, and too bitter. For instance, Italians have some genes which make them have different tastes. For instance, green vegetables for them, which we might feel like sour and not too tasty, they feel and they take them as more tasty. And we should introduce tasty and bright ingredients, of course. There's no choice. We have mustard. You're right, mustard. We do have. We have 3 minutes. Please, last question, the very last one. Thank you very much for the lecture, very interesting recipe. Now it's very fashionable to have avocado for breakfast. Avocado sandwiches, when avocado is combined with fish. How do you evaluate it like protein? A lot of research about breakfast tells us the following. The best breakfast is still a protein and not fat. It is good that it keeps you full as long as possible. And when we made filming of our program, we made an experiment. Same amount of calories were given predominantly with proteins, fats and carbohydrates to a group of people. And then we watched how soon these three groups of people become hungry. The fastest become hungry was the group who took some porridge without protein, mostly carbohydrates. On the second place, there was the group which took some fat things, and the longest period of being full was for the group of who ate some from eggs with some cheesy or meat product. So the more you have proteins, the longer you stay full. And you should also understand that avocado with combination and combined with fish, of course there are proteins, but too much fat in one bowl. For me, it would be too heavy for my body for the breakfast. But it depends on your taste. If you do not overtake calories for the whole day after this breakfast, and which is most likely that you get sooner hungry after fats, then okay, you're welcome. I like avocado in genuine principle. It's a good, healthy fat. Well, they are good for our vessels. The question about cheese, please. One question about cheese. 1 minute, 1 minute, 28 seconds. Yeah, please, go ahead. Go ahead. You said that your family, your kids, you take a lot of cheese. What cheese would you recommend? Hard cheeses? Someone would say that, well, some have a lot of salt, maybe soft. Our favorite cheese is Adygea cheese, which with the non-salty versions. Adygea, Suluguni, these cheeses are good that they have a lot of protein, but not so much fat. Fat, milky dairy fat means excessive calories. And I already told you that we overeat most probably. We have to stop it. Non-fatty cheeses are good if they are not salty. As for the hard, long duration cheeses, well, we should accept them as they are accepted in France, as a dessert. They are taken as a dessert. It's a typical situation. If you come to a business lunch in France and you order some set menu and they call it formule, and for the dessert you can choose normally one of three meals: some bakery, cheese, or fruit. So fruit or cheese they take after the main course, and this is a very calorie-rich, very bright, tasty product, which maybe it's reasonable. Well, I didn't take it as a habit. Sometimes do it, and so sorry, we have to finish here. And well, thank you very much for your participation. It was a big pleasure for me, and I saw your interest. Starting from February 1st, we have a new name of your products, Living Food with Sergey Malozyomov. The same time, same content, same topic. Thank you very much.